Welcome, everyone, to the Naked Three. We are three women who want to get into the naked truth, listen across our differences with love, and bring you some fun in these challenging times. Capital F, lowercase UN. You can share this live video on your Facebook wall right now. We'd really appreciate it because we want to spread the love around and have you and your friends maybe watch with us and be a little naughty with us and have a good time. So we're going to be here every Wednesday at 12:30 Pacific time, 3:30 Eastern time. And now for introductions. My name is Tracy Rubel. I'm a therapist living in Heidelberg, Germany, practicing psychotherapy online in the state of California. Larice?
I am Larice. I'm from North Carolina, and I'm also a psychotherapist doing virtual telehealth. And I just like to have a great conversation.
Hi, guys. I'm Lorraine. I am a career counselor at a college in New York City.
So, Lorraine, you're the MC today, right?
Oh, that's me. Sorry.
You are peppy.
I'm a little off kilter because I'm not in my normal space. As you could see, I'm in my office, and in the background, you could see every appointment ends with an action plan. So what's our plan for today? Tracy, I want to circle around to the article that was posted, the Wall Street Journal, right? The Wall Street Journal article that was posted. Maybe you could throw it up in the chat so people know what we're talking about. Tracy shared an article about two neighbors. One is a Biden supporter and one is a Trump supporter, and they both had their lawn signs out, and then they had handmade signs that pointed to each other's house saying, "We love them." And prior to you posting it on your feed and the Sidewalk Talk listeners feed, I had seen the article and I saw the picture and I read the article and I was like, wow, this is what we're missing right now. Difference of opinion, yet love. So then when I went on to the Sidewalk Talk listeners feed, I saw that you shared it and I was like, cool, totally in line with what we're about. And then I saw somebody write something that I kind of thought was like, ooh, that didn't sound like listening. So how did you feel about it when she posted or the person posted? What was your first reaction?
Sad. Misunderstood.
Sadness. Okay.
Sad because I feel sad about the state of our country, and I get it. I get that if, look, I am from San Francisco and I'm just going to be naked here. Can I be naked, girls?
Take your bra off, baby.
I'm taking it off. I sometimes find, and I'm somebody who's deeply committed to social justice, but sometimes I find the liberalism in the Bay Area to be incredibly oppressive and about shaming people.
Okay.
And I sometimes find the white folks to be the worst at doing this.
Okay. Elaborate on that. Like,
there's a lot of call out going on. So if you post an article like that Wall Street Journal article, there'll be you can't listen to somebody that votes differently than you because then you're basically condoning fascism and putting kids in cages.
Okay.
I don't know. What do you think about that?
I mean, when I saw, well, you already know me well enough to know that I can see both sides of the argument, and then people don't always like that. So I really loved the picture because it showed both sides of a very extreme topic. And because the country is so polarized, left or right, that it was a picture that depicted love. And it showed that, and to me, what I took away from it and reading the article, it was like, wow, this is really respectful. And then when I saw the person, immediately I got prickly when the person said, I want to say this with love and all due respect. To me, when someone starts with that, it's like, oh, they're about to go for it. It's about to be guns blazing. But I thought your response was what my daughter would call kindly disrespectful, and not in so much the disrespect part, but the kind part, like you explained. And then you said, well, let me go back and read the article again. And you took onus in that and saying, maybe I missed something. Maybe you saw something that I didn't see, honoring what she said. So to me, I took away from your comment, like that to me was true listening. You know, even though she disagreed with you, you truly listened, but like, oh, okay, well, let me go back and reread it. Maybe I missed something. And I was like, oh, okay. So, and it was really nice, but it was also saying, by the way, this is not in the spirit of what Sidewalk Talk listeners do, is the call out kind of thing. So I like that. Larice, what was your thoughts on it?
I thought the person that responded, I think it was displaced anger.
Okay. Why?
Because the comment sounded really angry, but I think it was directed. I think I saw something about people being in cages and, you know, my family. It got really personal, but I think it was something more going on with the person who posted.
Okay.
Because they were not trying to be in the middle. They weren't listening. They just saw I saw part of the conversation, and they just took part of the conversation that they didn't like, or part of the post that they did not like.
You know, and this is what's so tricky about these topics. I really appreciate being in this dialogue with y'all, right? Because in many ways, I agreed with both the women that commented.
Mm-hmm.
And I agree with their politics.
Mm-hmm.
But I also believe that the only way that we can create equality in this world, and the only way that we can heal and create public policy that serves everyone, is if we actually know how to listen to each other. Right?
Right.
And when we demonize one another coming out the gate, we're not changing any minds. We're not going to change anybody's mind from that place.
Right.
And so it becomes interesting. I've gotten a lot of criticism actually from colleagues of mine in the Bay Area because they feel like what I do at Sidewalk Talk is really wimpy. I got a lot of criticism when we did the bus tour across the South listening to Trump voters. And they said, I would never listen to somebody that votes for Donald Trump. And I'm just like, it's my ethic. It's the whole reason for the project.
But I feel like to me, it's like, I want to hear it. Like how, like, and I've worked with a student once, and, you know, a lot of what I do in career services is a lot of resumes. And one of the students put down young Republican member and young Democrat, you know, member, right? I was like,
both.
Both. Not only did he put political affiliation, he put both. Because, you know, resumes stay away from race, religion, and hot topics, politics. Mm-hmm. And I said to him, I said, you know, we usually tell students to stay clear of stuff like that, definitely politics on the resume. And he goes, no, I'm going to keep both. And I was like, just out of curiosity, why both parties? And he goes, I want to listen to both sides and make my own decision. And I thought, like, wow, what? Like, how open-minded is he to go and hear two extreme sides of the coin? Not only that, put it on his resume because he wanted to make his own decision. And and every time, like, people are like, oh, I can't support someone who supports Trump. It's like Anthony Scalia said, like, I don't challenge people's personality. I challenge their ideas. You know, and there's a difference, right? Counseling training is all people aren't bad. They do bad things, right? So you're challenging their idea of why they think like that. And for me, I always want to know the why. Why do you think that? Like, tell me more about that, especially if it's somebody I disagree with. And I'm always like, what does that look like to you? Tell me a little bit about that. And I have to say, I have learned more about people who I have nothing in common with and find out that I've had more in common with them because there really is a common thread that we share. So, but to me also, I'll say this, it was also posted not on the Sidewalk Talk community page. It was posted on the Sidewalk Talk listener page. So to me, it's a different set of people on that page. These are people who've been trained in listening. And for the person to make that comment, that's why I was like, well, she's not listening. And I understand she had her opinion, but the opinion was based out of not listening and understanding. You know, there was none of that compassionate listening there.
But I think you could look at it too a different way. You could also say that she was listening,
Okay.
and she was listening and she heard what she needed to hear, and then she commented on it. So I think you can look at it many different ways depending on where you come from, possibly your black background, because it sounds like she was really passionate about not having anything to do with, I think if I am correct, Trump supporters. I'm friends with people who are Trump supporters. We just know there's certain things that we stay away from when it gets to a point that it's like, we know we're passionate about this. I know I'm passionate about humanity. They may be passionate about economics.
Mm-hmm.
And it's like, okay, so we know those two things that we tread lightly, if in order for us to just talk about it in a very loving way and not step on her beliefs or this other person's belief.
Mm-hmm.
And it sounds like to me the person was make an attempt to get somebody to change their mind.
But then that's not listening. If you're trying to change someone's mind, that's not listening. At least I don't know.
Well, I think it's a funky dance, because if we reached out to this person, she or he may say they were listening. They just did not agree. You know what I mean? It might be because she probably read the article, but.
Well, can I interrupt? Because I don't want to gossip about this gal. I'm actually super curious about something you just said. Okay. I want to know how it is, what you have to do inside to be friends with somebody that votes for somebody that is a racist. Like, how is that for you?
I mean, it's hard to explain. It's just like anything else that you believe in is different. I might believe in Christmas, and someone believes in Hanukkah. So if we want to be friends, we look at how do we remain friends versus looking at the problem. I'm a solution focused person. So I'm looking at the solution. If she does Hanukkah and I do Christmas and we reside maybe in the same area, how do we figure out together conflict resolution? I think the article was okay because it's like, these people have their view, these people have their view. We want to live together. So how do we figure out how to get along?
Well, because you're in agreement with the article, but I think the feedback that I am trying to listen to from these two listeners was that in order to have a relationship with somebody who is a racist and you're an anti-racist, then you're in denial. And I don't agree with that.
Denial of what?
Denial that you are maybe, I don't know, they just use the word denial. But I think that this is what's so tricky, is that we can get on our moral high ground and rupture relationships for the sake of our own moral superiority. And the thing that the three of us seem to have in common is that we're not super interested in maintaining our moral superiority. We want to understand why someone holds the view that they hold.
Right.
Is that right?
And I have friends that are Trump supporters.
You do?
Yes, I do. I mean, yes, I have friends, not like close friends, but I have friends and we've talked politics. And I remember my best friend and I had went over to this couple's house, and they're gay, they're Trumpers for sure. And we left there like, oh my God, they're so nice. We love them. How could they support him? So it's like, and it's not like I think that they're racist, because when we say, you can't say that it's a broad stroke, all of his supporters are racist, right? I think there's party support and they support the party, and then some of them support him as an individual, and some people, they don't like him, but they like his policies. So to me, I've delved a little bit deeper. Like, why do you like him? Like, tell me more about that. Well, I like his policies and his economics and this and that. And I'm like, yeah, but look at what he says. They're like, yeah, I know it doesn't sound nice, but I'm like, but do you understand that Muslim ban? To me, as a Black woman, it's racist. It's targeting a certain group. And she goes, yeah, I see why you say that. So it's also perception of how they see the world. And for me, it's about respecting their opinion. Well, if you want to support the party, that's fine, and also they don't see themselves as racist. They might see an act of racism, but they don't see themselves as racist. And there's a difference.
Right. I think there's a difference because racist, you're talking about the entire person. Racism, I think, is an ism, like ism. So racism is like something you can change, but a racist, I think, is almost born and embedded in that individual, and it's hard to change their thinking. But I think ism is easier to work through. So I know people who have racist behaviors and they don't even know their behaviors are racist because they've been embedded in it so long. And none of their friends are doing what this article was doing. So they're not even self-aware that they have racist behaviors. And racist behaviors are not just Trump supporters. There's some racist behaviors among liberals. Maybe even more. Hidden racism. You don't go to a rally for Black Lives Matters and think you did something big and just because you're standing out with a sign. So I think coming together, merging two different things together, like oil and vinegar, sometimes it works out.
So I'm curious. I learned something about you. So you believe some people are born racist?
Yeah, I wanted to ask about that.
I think some people are born from the day they're born, because in the womb, we can hear things. You might not hear it clearly, but I think some kids from the day they're born, they're exposed to racist behaviors. Because why would two little kids go to school? They love each other. They like each other. And one day this kid say, I'm not allowed to play with you anymore. So what happened?
They weren't born like that, though. They heard that from their parents.
Right. I'm thinking day one, like day one, you can't play with this little baby because it's brown. We can't have this because it's this. Racism just not about people. It's things, systems. You know what I mean? It's a bunch of things. So it's like they're not born racist, but it's almost so inherent that it's like, when did it start? You know what I mean? It's like, and I think people can be married to other people and still be racist. You could be an interracial couple and one of the partners could be racist against the group he's married to. Or she's married.
It's interesting that you say that because I was reading an article, I don't remember, where they talked about the Amy, the new justice, and she talked about how she described her children.
Oh yeah, I think we talked about that. No,
maybe
I don't know. We both are just on the same wavelength.
Well, her biological children, she talked about them in different words than she talked about her Black children that she adopted. She used words of more praise when she talked about her biological children, like they've played the violin or whatever good thing they did. Whereas the other children, she talked about somehow using deficit type language. Like this one's worried about their this and this, and I'm very aware of it. And I thought to myself, when I went, because I didn't hear what she said, so I went back to look at the video, and it's like, wow, here you are, mom of Black children, and you're still using that implicit bias. Do I think she's racist? I don't know the woman. I haven't spoken to her, but did she use implicit bias words when she spoke about her Black children? Yes, she did. Can it be interpreted as racist? Maybe. But I think for me, the term racism, I think, is thrown around a lot. And I'll never forget, I'm going to call him out right now, my professor, Dallas Brown, African American Studies. He said, everything can be seen as racist, but it doesn't mean that it is, or is everything racist? So it's like you really have to look at it in its totality. Like, was that a racial moment or was it racist? You know, so to me, from very early on in my undergrad, it's like, it could be, but sometimes
Both?
it's not. Oh,
Could it be
both.
both? Or
It
both?
could be both. It totally could be both. But I think the way she definitely spoke about her and it could be that she just talked about her biological children differently.
Right. But my thing is, if you're going to bring Black children into your white home, you need to know something about the culture. You just don't adopt children from a different culture and assume they're going to take on the majority culture. You know what I mean? It's like,
You
if you're
can't.
going to,
Who's to say that? You can't say that for definite. How does she know she needs to know more? Maybe she's coming from a place of, oh, I'm going to protect them and they're going to have a good life.
right. And that's like a white person trying to save the Black race. That's not her job. You know what I mean?
Maybe she doesn't know. I mean, I don't know what she was thinking.
I don't know what she was thinking either, but I notice this a lot with when taking multicultural counseling, that some people of non-color can go in and get a Black child, not many questions asked. You, Lorraine, and I go in to get a white child, they're not giving it.
No.
Unless it's my friend or it's Tracy's child, and Tracy said, I want you to take my child, you're not going to get it. But look at all the celebrities that get the kids from Africa, from Haiti. They give them, you know, from what I read, they give them money. But again, it's like, learn about the culture if you're going to raise kids that are not the same as your culture. Just like we don't have to really step outside and raise our children to know about the majority culture, because it is the culture.
Right. But if you think about, like, on a macro level, what happens when the United States was colonized, right? They told the Native Americans that they had to be more colonized and they had to forget their language, forget their religion and all of that. So why would these white people who are adopting Black children think they need to do that?
Because they're not thinking. Again, it goes back to these learned behaviors of the colonizer. You know what I mean? We know that we need to look when we go across the street, right? But there are certain people that feel like, I can walk across the street because I know certain people are not going to hit me or bother me. Or we just were taught from young children to be aware of our surroundings. You know what I mean? It's like, for me, I don't trust a white man any more than I do another color man, because behavior is the behavior. I don't look at the white skin versus the Black skin, but I look at the behavior of that person. And we know who commit more crimes, but society says other people commit crimes, but we know who commits the most crimes, but who goes to jail the most.
Damn, we're getting in it today. Whew.
Reese is hot today.
Well, you know, it's
She's like,
I mean, like, for example, there's this guy that lives in our neighborhood. He's an older white gentleman, looks like a hippie, says he's a real Christian, right? So he wants to take me out on his boat as soon as we meet. Let me take you out on my boat. I heard from another white woman, don't ever go out on a boat with a white guy. It's a joke that she said, but it's like, why did you ask me to go on your boat and I just met you? So my daughter and I were walking yesterday. He was walking his dog. He waited until we got to his driveway because he just had to find out who she was. But in the Black neighborhood, we don't do that, because we're like, we won't go up to this person because I don't think we want to be seen in a certain kind of way. He was like, let me just stand at my driveway till they come so I can talk to her. So
maybe he's just being a friendly neighbor.
With most of the women, yeah. He is a friendly neighbor. He is friendly. But I'm just saying.
He's a flirt.
He's a flirt, yeah.
Yeah.
But my husband wouldn't do that, because he's like, you know what people might think. So I think some things are inbred in us that we just don't do because we might get in trouble versus the other person may not. And I think it goes back to this.
But you think it's embedded in us, or you think it's learned behavior?
Well, it's a learned behavior, but it's like
Okay.
sewn into your shirt when you go out. At nighttime, you got to be
I
careful.
gotta tell you, I am really surprised that you would let anyone sew any damn thing in your shirt. You mean to tell me that you follow manners?
Well,
Seriously?
growing up, I grew up in the country, and I was told when you go to the store, you got to watch out for this person, that person, and
Yeah.
you must go in twos. You can't go alone when you're a certain age. And I didn't understand, but when I did go by myself, I understood because it was like four white guys in a car. I was on my bike, and they
Mm.
ran me in the ditch.
So this was all because of racism and you're being safe because you were a Black woman, not because you were being taught, debutante graces.
Oh, hell no.
Okay. Well, because I mean, but aren't you somebody that would stand at the end of your driveway and flirt with a good-looking guy walking up the street? No?
What? No. Well, I don't. Maybe.
Yes.
But again, I know where my safety zone is. It's just like when I was younger, you could walk to the store, but you can only walk with certain people. You had to walk at a certain time. Um, so with my driveway, I'm comfortable in my driveway. Yes, I'm comfortable in my driveway because I know if I am fearful, I can back up in my space. But walking the world, just today being out walking the world, so many people are saying, or saying to me the things that they're going through, with this whole a week left for voting. They're so nervous that DT 45 is going to win again. They're so afraid that we're going to go backwards. They're so afraid about everywhere we go is Roe versus Wade. They're talking about just hearing people in their conversation, not mine, that man, I'm just so nervous of what is going to happen.
Yeah.
Because here in North Carolina, it's very close.
Yeah.
And I'm hearing the same thing but people are worried on both sides.
Yes.
They're worried on both sides. They're worried about what they're going to lose on both sides. And I had a candid conversation with somebody that I worked with, and I was like, it's like this mentality of they are taking something away from you. And we as Black people are the they. And I'm like, wait, hold on a second. Like the 1%ers who have the most money, like we should be banding together because they don't need all of it. Number one. Yeah, I get that they earned it, but there's enough for all of us.
No, they didn't always earn it either. They didn't always earn it.
Right. It was taken, right? So generationally, like that wealth has been around for generations as opposed to for us. But it's like nobody's taking anything away from you. Like it's all for us. That's what I learned in high school history. It's a democratic society.
Mm-hmm.
Right. And there's a reason why the United States doesn't want a monopoly on goods and services. So one person doesn't have everything. But somehow along the way that got skewed because both sides think they're losing something.
Well, I think one side will really lose something. I think the other side, they're losing their mind on some things. But I think humanity wise, on one side, you're really going to lose health care. You're really going to possibly lose the right for women's health. That's true. Systematic racism will get worse. On the other side, what are they losing? It's all about money and status. If you have it all, why not share? And I think there's one side that says, I don't want to share.
What's coming up for me, I just love this frame, Lorraine, this idea of what are we going to lose? And what just occurred to me as I was listening to you both is how could we frame it? What are we going to gain?
Right.
How could we all say
what are we
all going to collectively? Did you see the little graphic, the little Sidewalk Talk graphic I said about how the Love the Most Possible People political party that I made up?
Yes.
Why can't we do that? Why can't we just look at political policy or at public policy and go, okay, how can we maximize the most possible benefit for the most number of people? But this frame, I just love that you just called this out, Lorraine, this frame that I am going to lose something and I'm going to go to the mats and fight to the death to not lose my little thing.
Right.
What people don't realize is if we all maximized everyone's gains,
Right. Like
You'd have more than the little thing you're trying to keep.
Right. But we don't see, my background, my undergrad is in community health. So all of my learning and everything I do is all about prevention. Like, how can we prevent this? How can we prevent that? But like, so just as an example, if you look at Mississippi, I think they're one of the states that has banned abortion. I think, I'm not sure. I don't remember. Or they're close to banning abortion.
They're shutting down a lot of the clinics. So
okay.
They're making it more difficult.
And you're talking to human beings about abstinence. We all know human beings don't abstain from sex. So what about if you taught children about safe sex, and in that you get less pregnancy, right? If you teach them to prevent STDs, you get less pregnancy. But then what ends up happening on the flip side, when you don't talk to them about prevention of pregnancy, there's a lot of unwanted pregnancy. There's a lot of women who can't work. There's a lot of men who go to jail for not paying child support because they can't find jobs. And then this system of trying to do this acute care is this vicious cycle. And then you blame people for being poor, where you could have prevented this in the beginning.
Prevention is better than cure.
Prevention is better than cure. So the thing is that our society is not based on prevention. It's capitalism and how we're going to make money and blame people when they don't have, right? Like, you have 5 kids now when you're on welfare. Well, nobody talked to me about prevention.
Right. And if they did talk to them about prevention, it depends on where they are on the religious scale, that they could get talked into having the child, keeping the child. And once the times are hard and difficult, the person that talked them into keeping the child may be gone, or that service has ended. So, and we're talking about a lot of them are young moms and dads, because there's some single dads out there too. So how do we find a balance? And for me, I think you could connect better coming together versus, there has to be a tug of war and there has to be a winning side and a losing side. Why can't we all win?
Well, and I think we've got this wound in this country that, we're the people that are struggling somehow are flawed, like you'd said, Lorraine. And I think that's a bummer, because I oftentimes feel like capitalism self-selects for a very particular set of personality traits, kind of more extroverted, narcissistic, salesman-like personality traits, right? And kind of like when you're doing mass farming and you reduce the type of vegetables you can get into like the basic vegetables, right? I like really weird people. I like people that think differently. I like people that work differently. I like people that operate in community. I like people that dance, that sing, that are goofy, right? That maybe don't fit the model that capitalism would sort of celebrate, right?
Yes. And that's probably why the 3 of us get along. Because the 3 of us definitely do not fit into any box. We're definitely all against the grain in our own ways. And I think, like what you said, that it's not revered. It's not revered. Fit into a box. It's not revered. So,
and then more importantly, you're supposed to figure it out and just be more like the people that are successful, not the system has to work for everybody.
Right.
And that's the piece that bums me out. I tell people when they come into therapy, I said, oh, by the way, I'm not interested in making you look like a piece of cellophane wrapped American cheese. So we're going to make sure that you stay weird, but I just want you to be able to not do the stuff that's causing you pain.
Can I just add something to that? I met with a student. He was a non-traditional student. He had decided to go back to be a teacher. He had worked somewhere. And he comes into my office, this is pre-COVID, and he's like, yeah, I'm applying for this job. And, I have this. I was like, what's going on? Like, I'm missing something. What am I missing? He's like, I have a criminal record. I'm like, okay, tell me. I'm like, is it a felony? He's like, no. In my mind, I was like, you'll be fine. It's not a felony. You could still get a job. But I realized like he had this level of shame because he had this record. And I said to him, I was like, so I'm going to just guess. And if I'm wrong, tell me. I'm like, are you living in a world where people think you're one way and you're really this guy that did some bad things? You were arrested and now you're just trying to do the right thing. And that's why you want to be a teacher? And he says, yes. I said, so why don't you seek out places where you can make a difference? You know, like New York City has this program to reduce the school to prison pipeline. So they have all boys public schools. And I think it's called Eagle Academy. I was like, Eagle Academy is public schools. And, you know, it's an all boys school. It's to prevent young men of color from going in to prison. I said, and these are places where your experience would be valued. He had never heard of this. And he felt like he was able to share that. And I was like, well, instead of waiting for them to find out that you have this criminal record, why don't you discuss it with the principal? He emailed me like a week later. He was like, by the way, the conversation with the principal went fine and I'm going to apply for the job. But I realize a lot of people are faking it. A lot of people are faking it. And I kind of...
Like, really?
They're faking it. They're faking it. They're living up to a standard that's not real.
Mm. So are we.
I'm not faking it.
I'm not faking it, but I'm saying the standard. You know, there's a set standard. If you go to school and do this, you can get this and you can get that. But a lot of kids now are doing their own thing. They're coming up with little businesses. You know, this COVID thing has taught some people how to just... You don't have to go to college. It helps. You don't have to own a home. Mm-hmm. You don't have to have a car. You know what I mean? Those things that we were just kind of, in my generation, just taught. You know, you go to school, you get a degree, or you get a good job. You have a family. You know, you get a home. You have a nice car. You drive a Volvo. So a lot of kids I know, including my own, they're doing differently. They don't want to own a home.
Mm-hmm.
One doesn't want a car. One wants to just travel. You know, so it's different. It's just a difference in, I think, generations too. And I think the younger generation doesn't necessarily look so much at color. I think they look at the character more of the person. They're not so hung up on what color is your skin. Because the old people,
what kind of clothes are you wearing, or
what kind of clothes,
do you have the right haircut?
Yeah. Right. Do you date the right guy? You know, does he have to have the perfect family? So I think the younger generation is going to sort of hopefully pull things in a different direction, because all these older people with racist behaviors are going to die out. Because in years to come, people are going to look like us. They're not going to look like Tracy.
I don't think they're going to die out, though. I disagree with you on that. Racism is not dying out.
Not racism, but the older people who is really, really embedded in, they're going to die off. And these younger children, they're going to start looking like us. The browner people are going to become the majority.
But don't you think we'll just find somebody else to scapegoat? Because the human animal tends to want to take their shadow material and find somebody else to project all that shit on so that they don't have to take responsibility.
Probably so. But I think it'll be in a different way, because, you know, now it's all about, look around. Lots of my friends are black, white, brown and white, Asian and black, Asian and white. So the kids now, if you just look at kindergarten, it looks different than it did when I went to kindergarten.
Mm. And that also depends on where you live. Because I live in a predominantly white neighborhood. It's white.
Well, I guess because we were living on a military base, and we live in a military neighborhood. Most of the kids play together. They don't really talk about some of the things that I think I remember kids talking about. So I just see things changing. It's going to be a linear thing. It's not going to be it's going to be a slow change, but I do see changes. And I embrace differences. You could be a Trump supporter. I love you. If you're my brother, sister, whomever, come to my house. We can agree to disagree, because for me to shun you is not going to help either.
That's a great full circle statement, bringing us right back to the top of session.
Right.
Hey,
So,
I think we're all a little low energy today.
yeah.
I just want you to know that I love you both, and if anything's going on and we need to, if you need a little Tracy Dutzeling later, you let me know.
I think I will, and I want to thank everybody for joining us again this Wednesday, and check us out on the Sidewalk Talk Community Listing Project, or
Share to your social media so your friends can listen too.
yes, and I never get it right, which is okay because I have these two ladies that's gonna pull me up.
We're coming live every Wednesday, as it says on the bottom of the screen, at 12:30. The goal isn't for us to be gurus or teach anything. We just want to model what being naked honest, practicing listening, leaning into uncomfortable conversations, sometimes laughing a lot. Today we were all a little low key. Lorraine is at work today, so she's like, I can tell a little grumpy that she's at work.
I'm in the office.
Larice just came in from a workout, so I know that her armpits are probably really stinky right now, so she can't quite be as with us as she wants.
However, what was today?
Tuesday! On that note, thanks for signing us out, Larice, and thanks for coming in live, Lorraine. I appreciate you a lot.
All right, ladies, share with a friend. We're here every Wednesday. Thank you. Bye, ladies.